Now to our last Jay Kamhi. Our next speaker is Jay Kamhi. He's asked for 5 to 7 minutes. Jay Kamhi. Dwayne's philosophy. Dwayne's philosophy. Jay Kamhi. Take your time, take your time.
Do I have a mic?
You're okay.
Ooh, sun. Mr. Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters, guests. In 1989, I ended up in a homeless shelter, visiting. My girlfriend, at the time, said, Jay, you're not very sensitive or caring. And I thought, I'll show her. I'm going to hire a homeless veteran to prove how sensitive and caring I am. So I'm at the Salvation Army homeless shelter, sitting at a table, and across from me sits a man named Dwayne Jackson. Dwayne is a homeless Vietnam veteran with PTSD, and he's a drug addict. And I'm thinking, this whole idea of hiring a homeless veteran is a big mistake. I'm going to go back to minding my own business, because that's how you survive on the streets of New York. I say, Dwayne, I've decided not to hire anybody, but thank you for coming. Dwayne stands up, and that's when I see how big he is. Leans over the table and says, Mr. J, if you hire me, you will never, ever regret it. Like I said, you're hired. 1 week later, we're selling Easter toys on the corner of 45th Street and Broadway, the heart of Times Square. A crowd of customers surrounds our table. Just then, a big, bald-headed man with muscles out to here walks over, snatches a toy Easter bunny off the table, and walks away without paying for it. Well, guess what I did? Absolutely nothing. Did I mention he had muscles out to here? But then I hear Dwayne's voice say, put the bunny down. The bald-headed man turns around, glares at Dwayne, and starts walking towards him. When he's just a few inches away, he raises the bunny over his head and puts it back on the table. After he leaves, I say, Dwayne, thank you, but you didn't have to do that. Dwayne says, Mr. J, I have a philosophy in life. When I see something, I say something. And that's the moment I decided I want to be friends with Dwayne Jackson. Over the next few weeks, I started practicing Dwayne's philosophy. When I see something, I say something. For example, I saw that I was falling in love with my girlfriend. So I decided to say something. I said, will you marry me? And when she saw me on one knee, a ring in my hand, she said something. She said, no. Thank you for laughing at my misery. But there was something else I saw that I couldn't stop thinking about. Those other homeless veterans at the shelter where I first met Dwayne. I could no longer just mind my own business because I knew I could change their lives by saying just 2 words to them. You're hired. So I drove back to the shelter and I hired 4 more homeless veterans. Over the next 2 years, I watched Dwayne get off drugs, rent an apartment, and get married. Because unlike my girlfriend, his girlfriend said yes. Eventually, I moved to Florida, but I kept in touch with Dwayne. And in the spring of 2010, I was reading the New York Times when I saw an article about Dwayne. It said that Dwayne was working on the corner of 45th Street and Broadway when he spotted a Nissan Pathfinder parked a few yards away. The van was running, but there was no driver. So he walks over, looks in the back of the truck, and sees that it's packed with explosives. He calls 911. The bomb squad races over and defuses those explosives. Dwayne learns that they were set to detonate in just 30 minutes. To quote the New York Times, Thousands of people would have been killed if Dwayne hadn't called. I put the newspaper down and I called Dwayne. I say, Dwayne, you're in the New York Times. Dwayne says, Brother Jay, it gets better. Today, I got a call from President Obama thanking me for preventing another 9/11. President Obama asked Dwayne, of the thousands of people that passed by that van, why were you the only one to call the police? Guess what Dwayne said? He said, Mr. President, I have a philosophy in life. When I see something, I say something. Dwayne's philosophy saved thousands of lives. But I couldn't help but wonder, how many lives could we change if more people followed Dwayne's philosophy? When I see something, I say something. I still follow it. Remember that woman who said no when I asked her to marry me? Well, I found one who actually said yes. To me. I believe that there's not a problem in the world that someone somewhere doesn't see a solution to. Let's encourage them to say something. And one more thing. If you're ever visiting New York City and you happen to pass by 45th Street and Broadway, you may see a tall man with a gray beard selling his wares. He's been there for 35 years. Feel free to walk up to him and say thank you for your service, because that man is Dwayne Jackson. But if you really want to thank him, practice his philosophy. When I see something, say it with me, I say something. Mr. Toastmaster, thank you.